Welcome to Recovery from Fragmented Families podcast. This podcast is dedicated to you, my wonderful listeners and subscribers who have been affected by family estrangement. And now you are on your own personal journey of emotional recovery, inner healing, and self-worth. This podcast will cover all aspects of family estrangement and will help you uncover the deep-seated reasons of why people choose to cut ties with their families for good. The conversations will not only inspire you, motivate you, and educate you, but will also serve as a guide to a life of fulfillment, free from anger and resentment, by activating your inner strength of resilience and transforming your mindset. We can't wait for you to join us. You're amongst friends. So let's get started on this journey. So, just by the title, you can guess this space is all about family estrangement. And I am so passionate about this, and I think it is because I've been through it and I've come out on the other side, and I can be able to navigate others through that same journey, because often it can feel like a really dark path. Before starting this podcast, let's say going back, I'll say about maybe a month or so, over a month, I really started to think, what difference do I really want to make in the world? Like, and in what way can I use my experience and, something that was seemingly very emotionally draining and turn it to something positive? So within that time, whilst I'm contemplating the type of difference that I can make and the people that I'm called to serve, I had one of those haha moments, literally haha. I started reflecting back and thinking on so many events that have shaped the way I think, that have shaped my outlook in life, my behavior, challenged my responses, and some of the situations and life lessons that were wrapped in, I like it to call it thorns and cactus, that really prepared me to think and dig deeper about who I am and what I am and what makes me me. Like, what is so unique? Now, aside from that, I generally have a massive interest in learning about human behavior. Honestly, it's just one of those things I could just be reading and reading and reading about people, what makes us unique. So I don't just tend to focus on myself, because obviously to understand others, you really have to start understanding yourself, right? But I don't want to call it obsession, by my hobby, it really is studying human behavior and what makes us us. What experiences shape us? Why are other people can go through the same experience? Some people can go through identical experience, but they have a complete different outcome um, for them. Some of them is a very negative outcome, some of it is very positive. Why is that others can go through a very negative experience, while one person will utilize the experience to fuel purpose, to make a change, and others will get completely drowned in those experiences? So this is why I'm here where I am today. One of the things that's really impacted the way I feel about myself, I feel about relationship, was going through family estrangement of my own. So then when I had that haha moment, I thought complex emotions that are normally associated with such experiences. The reason why people find themselves at this stage of family estrangement, it really is multifaceted. Is that there's no singular reason. And the reason why I'm super passionate about this is because people who have gone through such a traumatic experience usually go through the following emotions. stress, anxiety, feel that they're not lovable, questioning themselves, why me? Thoughts of family gathering can trigger anxiety. They tend to deal with a lot of toxic family members, which in turn they can sometimes develop into a toxic self mindset. They can often start questioning their judgment. They can often start feeling there's something wrong with them. There's a lot of shame around this topic of family estrangement, and a lot of people going through it, they don't say a thing. It's almost like they suffer in complete isolation. Sometimes they're in disbelief, and over a period of time of dealing with these issues, a mindset, a very negative one actually, about how you relate to other people and how they cannot be trusted. You almost keep people at an arm's length, or I always call it, you secretly have scissors behind your back, just waiting to cut them off if they do anything wrong. Because as you say, everybody's capable of hurting you. So really and truly, you look out for when things can potentially go wrong. So you're always on high alert. You become avoidant of certain situations and people. Sometimes you don't even know who to trust. Sometimes you're confused, overwhelmed, sad, even ambivalent about situations. You know, someone who's gone through estrangement, or perhaps yourself, you might be worried about future loss of close relationships. So you must start acting in a way that you think you're trying to avoid future loss of relationship, but actually your actions could be self-sabotaging. You might be feeling bitter, you might be feeling angry, perhaps scared that the cycle will continue with the future generations. And certainly what I've learned when it comes to the topic of estrangement, it didn't start with you. Take a closer look at your mum, dad, aunties, and uncles relationship. What's that like? Are they talking? Do you know some of your family members, extended family members? And if you don't, what happened? The chances this estrangement impacts a lot of people. A recent study from UK standalone families stated that it affects at least 1 in 5 people in the UK. That's a lot of people. Just imagine that for 1 minute. 1 in 5 people have experienced family estrangement. That is a staggering number. When you go across the pond to USA, the statistics are very similar too. They follow the same trajectory. Or within in other European countries, it does seem that it's so prevalent, but yet so little is discussed. Again, going back to how people who have gone through estrangement be feeling, they'll be feeling rejected, unworthy, unresolved issues, let down, exhausted, frustration, paranoia. Does this resonate with you? Now, the paranoia part is really interesting because if someone became estranged from their family due to toxic dynamics or character assassination or due to family drama triangle, people can get really paranoid because often they've been on the receiving end of gossip and character assassination. So now they're so careful in how they choose to interact with people because they don't know how their words will get twisted around. They don't know who's saying who to what and why. So they become extremely paranoid. They keep maybe text messages, emails as a receipt just in case they need to produce those receipts later to redeem themselves against an accusation might come later. People become wary of others. There's just so much more to this. But you know what? I'm ready to take on this challenge. I'm ready to tackle this because there's a lot of people out there going through this. And sometimes people just need a voice. But more importantly, people don't need to suffer in silence thinking this is it. This is the end. Nobody should be sitting at home feeling suicidal because they have been cut off from their family, or they've chose to walk away from a very toxic family dynamic, and now they're dealing with the aftermath of those emotions. It just doesn't make any sense. Of course, it makes sense when you're going through it because you have to process those emotions. But at the same time, you don't want to be in those emotions forever and ever and ever. You need to come to a place where you can recover from this, because I truly believe emotional recovery is the way forward. Then you're not preoccupying with your part of the brain that is normally in a fight or flight mode. You're not entertaining that part anymore. Let that part come to life when you're faced with a really dangerous situation. Our fight and flight mode is normally triggered off by the stress hormone known as cortisol. Now, the cortisol is our nature's inbuilt alarm system. It is our body is stress hormone response. And it is great, as I say, when we need to run away from a lion or something chasing us at nighttime when we have a stalker or something. But to be having the cortisol pumped in your blood on a daily basis is not good. And this happened because if when you start reliving some of the scenarios and circumstances that led to the family becoming estranged, you can often be living trauma. And the thing is, our brain doesn't understand the difference between when we're going through something lively or when it is in the past. It just understands that we're going through it. The best way to understand this is that something could have happened 5, 10, I don't know, maybe even 6 months ago. And when you think about it, you still get teary eyed, you still get really emotional, and you get really stressed out. Just imagine if you're hooked on ECG machine, the one that measures your heart rate, what would that pick up? And if your ECG is picking that elevated heart rate, what does that mean? What does it truly mean? Because our bodies are all chemical, right? Everything is all chemical, it's all chemistry in our bodies. So if you think about the cortisol just running through your blood, what does it mean? What happens when we have too much cortisol pumping through our blood? Often we have high blood pressure. It can lead to weight gain. It can lower our immune system because we're not supposed to be in that mode all the time. Anyway, that is all for this week's episode. Please tune in next week to find out ways that you can manage this. I think sometime when you're armed with the knowledge of how fragmented families come to be, and more so how you can recover from it, it makes that journey a little bit easier. Next week's episode will be focused on building resilience. And because sometimes when we build this resilience, it does help us navigate this particular world. And it just even makes sense. And we learn how to live with these things. And future episode will be focusing on forgiveness. And actually, with the forgiveness, I actually have an amazing forgiveness workbook as well as forgiveness meditation to accompany you on your journey of healing that would assist you further. And I also have resilience flashcards that would also help you along the journey of building the resilience to help you cope with the estrangement. Thank you again for listening, and I cannot wait to bring you another episode next week. Thank you. All right, so this is it for this week's episode. Don't forget to tune in next week for another episode. Thank you so much. And once again, it's your host, Mariam, at Recovery from Fragmented Families. Thank you.